So we have Dr. Yunusa Tanko, who is the presidential candidate of NCP, to weigh in on this matter. Thank you for coming on this morning.
Thank you very much for having me.
I know that chairman of political parties, they had some objections about this, but INEC said that they were going to look into all of those, take that in before coming up with the guidelines. They've come up with that now. You've seen some of it. Are you satisfied with what you've seen?
Well, naturally, what ought to have happened is that INEC has that particular absolute power to give the guidelines. But
absolute?
No, it's not fully absolute, because they have to, in collaboration with the political party, they need to consult the political party. But when INEC went ahead to give the guidelines, political party kicked against some of the areas. And these areas are on the issue of the polling stations, accreditations, and then with the smart card reader. And this has to do with Section 8, Section C, and then 10 and 13 of this particular electoral guideline. What ought to have happened ab initio was that this area should have been discussed long before now, before the first guideline came out. But of course, INEC chairman, Professor Mahmood, in his very magnanimous way, explains the reasons why this particular decision was taken. But then we now agree that we need to look at each of this particular area, and then future correction can be made. Probably that was what bring out what happened on Monday. But what normally we should have taken this issue line by line. Take our time, go to a retreat and take it line by line. So when we agree,
with INEC.
yes, we agree on it and we're done. All of these particular problems wouldn't have arisen at all. You understand? But of course, INEC in its own wisdom decided to do. But let's look at it now critically. In the areas of
that's Section 8.
Yeah, polling stations with accreditation and then the smart card reader. With regard to the polling station, INEC has 119,973 polling stations. Then they said in 3A that where there is more than 500 or 750 accredited voters, they will split that particular polling station.
And give rise to
and then it will now reflect to be a new polling station.
The VPS.
That means that with regard to Section 6C, that means there will be an increase on the total number of polling stations. Of course, that will alter the planning of any political party who has planned one agent per one polling station.
Oh, you're talking about Section 3
Section
of
3.
INEC guidelines,
Yes.
which has to do with the voting point settlements and the polling units?
Yes, you have 500 or 750.
Yes, of
Okay?
course.
So that means that they will break it down. They said they will break it down.
That's 5,000.
Let me read that specifically.
Yes.
3B.
Yes.
It says voting points are created out of polling units based on multiples of 500 and a maximum of 750 registered voters, or as may otherwise be determined by the Commission.
Yes.
That's what you mean?
Yes. Those are the areas in which then subsequently they mention section again where they will break it down in case there are more than. You can read further.
But INEC, when we spoke to them, even though C says where a VPS is created, it shall be treated as a polling unit. But they say, look, this is just for administrative purposes.
But it can be created. It's stated there, created as a polling unit. But what you have, yes. So what you have is 119, but 973. Then if you create another one, that means an increase.
Do you see this as having the capacity to derail your successes at the polling unit?
Well, it may affect a lot of, because once you do not have that calculated number, you derail your own planning to provide another additional agent to man that probably possible increase in a policy.
But didn't INEC inform your political parties about this?
No. What they're saying is that we are not, what we have on record is that INEC has a polling station for 119,973.
Okay.
Clear. You can wear anywhere you say. So, possibility of increase, how many will be created? At what point will it be created? Who will know the creation so that we can now put it in our own planning? There's no doubt INEC has done a lot of work in trying to clean up this particular system. You can't give them credit for that. But as it go on, you also have to improve on it where areas you have some disputes so that you can agree. Definitely there may be polling stations where they may need to create another one. There's no doubt about it. But how many are they? How do we know?
You know, the biggest cry of the CUPP is that this whole guidelines is meant to rig the elections. in favor of some parties. But do you share that same view with
It's
them?
not only about CPP, it's all political parties. Majority of the political parties have objections to certain areas.
But is INEC doing this to rig the elections?
No, I wouldn't say so. Because I wouldn't say that it is done for INEC to rig election, no. But what we want to know is that so that we can be at par with INEC to ensure that there is no perceived intention of giving room for undue advantage to some other persons in position.
What do you think is going to happen to the VPS when we get to that point where INEC sees the reason, maybe having that more than 500 voters, and will have to split it and create a VPS? What do you see happening? Will we have a situation whereby names are now also transferred and then pasted on the walls at the VPS point?
That is now be an administrative issue for INEC. And that's why I am raising this issue, so that correction can be made and political parties can be called in time to agree on how they want to go about it. These things are not difficult. It's just that when we agree with each other, we can really work out things and make it work. But where you stand on a position and say, this is the way we want to go and this is the way we will go, and then we will raise objections as the area in which we think there are discrepancies. And then we'll come to disagreement.
All right, you also raised some objections about the voting procedure. But INEC have said that, look, the voting procedure to conduct these elections, as covered by the Electoral Act, is the continuous accreditation
and voting system,
which is CAV.
Yes, exactly.
We just heard Chief Danny Wanya saying that, look, that is a good system as far as he's concerned,
yes,
because it will save us time.
Yes.
We will stop voting at an early time, so
yes,
people don't have opportunity to start stuffing ballot papers,
yes,
and snatching them.
Yes.
What is wrong with that?
I agree with it totally. But the problem there is this. At any point in time in a polling station, it is expected that the agent of the political party and the political party, of course, also know the total number of accredited voters.
So that's the bone of contention.
It's a bone of contention. I raised this issue at the INEC meeting. And why I'm raising it is not because probably we're trying to impugn on what INEC has done. No, we're trying to give a clear-cut agreement between the political party and INEC so that later people will not use it as an opportunity for litigation. We're tired of litigation. We're just enriching the hands of some other people.
But he also says that you will have your polling agents at those polling centers, and that would take away any underhand tactics that anybody may want to bring.
No, let me, according to that particular 6C, is it 10C or 8A or so, talking about voting, accrediting, and then voting system at the same time. Now, when you vote, when you come on the queue, you are going to vote. But there is, and it starts from 8 and stops from 2. And those who are on the queue must be counted. Probably let us suggest that at that particular point in time, all agents must, and the electorate must be counted so that people will know this is the total number of accredited voters in that polling station. Once it is established, voting goes on. But where it is not established, people will not know the total number of accredited voters at each of the polling stations. I don't know whether you understand. We must know the total number of accredited voters at the point of 2 p.m. So that after that 2 p.m., anybody that comes will not be allowed to vote. But there's no provision in each of these particular guidelines that stipulate exactly at the point in time where the accredited number of voters will be. Even though INEC tried to give a very good explanation as regard to the total number of accreditations, that the CV and the smart card reader will give you the total number, as it were. But if the smart card reader would it be presented to the agent so that they will know the total number? But,
what about,
so these are areas that we need to ask questions.
What about 8D, which says, quote, the presiding officer shall regulate the admission of voters to the polling units or voting point settlement or voting point, and shall exclude all other persons except candidates, all their polling agents or election officials, security personnel, accredited observers, and any other person who, in his opinion, has lawful reason to be admitted. So if this exercise is going to be carried out, your party members will be there to see everything.
There's no doubt, there's no question as regard to that.
But you just want
they need to know certain information at the look, in any election, in any election, you need to know those who are voting, the total number of people who are voting.
This doesn't look like a big deal. So why is it coming across as though, did they say they will not let you people know?
No. I didn't say so. I only said that the total number had not been told to the agents. At no point in time that they know the total number of the accredited voters.
So what then do you say in this scenario whereby we have a situation whereby a voter has his PVC, but his information cannot be read with the card reader, or perhaps it's not even on the board?
According to that person will be excluded from voting. It's clear. They said it in the guidelines. That person will not be allowed to vote because there's discrepancy as regard to his card and regard to name, and even subject to you to being arrested and prosecuted.
Do you believe that kind of card was bought?
The card? Of course, if the smart card reader cannot read you and all, of course that means that particular card must be subject to a question.